Hi everybody, and welcome to Virtual Sunday School. Well, as you can see, today I'm in a gym. What am I doing in a gym? Oh, wait a minute, I remember. Why? Because we're going to be talking about the strongest man that ever lived. Arnold Schwarzenegger. No, actually we're going to be talking about Samson and how Samson foreshadowed the life of Jesus. Now, remember, we're still talking about the book of Judges. These were the leaders who were appointed by God to save Israel. Now, Samson was the last of these judges, and there are a lot of things in his life that are very similar to Jesus. For example, Samson's birth was foretold by an angel, just like Jesus' birth was foretold by an angel. And they both had miraculous or supernatural births. Samson was born of a woman who was barren. That means she couldn't have any children. And Jesus was born of a virgin. That's the Virgin Mary. And they both grew up to be heroes. Now, Samson was known for two things in particular. Number one, his great strength, which was given to him by God. And second, he was also known for having long, manly hair. Now, this can be similar to Jesus because we certainly know that Jesus, as God, has the strength of God. And from all the pictures that we've seen with Jesus, we know that he has long, flowing hair. So, one of the first tests of Samson's great strength was that one day he was attacked by a lion, but Samson, with his great strength, ripped the lion apart. And this, we can even say, is similar to Jesus because Jesus' first battle was with Satan in the desert, and he defeated him there. And Samson, throughout his life, performed many services and miracles, just like Jesus did during his life, for the nation of Israel, the people of Israel. So after many years of service and miracles, Samson was cut down in his prime by his girlfriend Delilah, who told the secret of his power to his enemies. And that was his long hair, which she cut off in the middle of the night. And Jesus, in a very similar way, after many years of performing miracles and healing, was betrayed by one of his own apostles, Judas, who received for this betrayal a bag of silver from Jesus' enemies. And you know what? Come to think of it, Delilah also received a bag of silver for her betrayal of Samson. And so to make matters even worse, Samson, now defeated and tortured, was brought to the temple of his enemies and stood in front of all the people so that they could see now this defeated and humiliated hero of Israel. And that's very similar to what happened to Jesus. Because remember, the Pharisees brought Jesus out into the public after he was tortured. And they showed him, look, this is the person who's going to save Israel. He is humiliated and defeated. And so now Samson, defeated, prayed to God and asked him for one last miracle, that he be given the strength to defeat his enemies. And with that, in an act of self-sacrifice, Samson put his hands on the two great pillars of the temple and he pushed with all of his might, and the temple collapsed and killed not only Samson, but all of his enemies. And so Jesus, hanging on the cross, in a similar way, like Samson, prayed to God, but not for strength. Jesus prayed that the people be forgiven for what they did to him. And Jesus sacrificed himself on the cross for us. So there we go. We have the entire story of Jesus in the Old Testament, and right there in Samson. Wait a minute, not so fast. Not everything in the Old Testament is an exact foreshadowing of Jesus. And in fact, I'm going to now show you that Samson's life is actually more like a famous mythological person that you know, Hercules. So Hercules, like Samson, had a miraculous, a supernatural birth. Hercules was born from a god, Zeus. And Hercules, like Samson, was known for his great strength. And actually, Hercules was known for his great, beautiful long hair, based, of course, on historical evidence. And they both defeated a lion with their bare hands. And both were unfortunately betrayed by their girlfriends. And both were forced to do excruciating labors. And in Hercules' case, it was 12 labors, one of which was the defeat of the famous Hydra. And tragically, both Samson and Hercules were forced to sacrifice their own lives. So, what does this tell us? Well, Samson is like Jesus, Samson is like Hercules, so Hercules is Jesus. No. But really, what we learn from this is that, yes, there are things about Samson that foreshadow Jesus, but we have to be very careful that we don't make everything in the Old Testament to foreshadow Jesus. Think of the Bible like a puzzle, and you want to make sure that the pieces fit together correctly. You don't want to force all the pieces together and make them fit, because sometimes you'll see adults do that. They try to make pieces fit together that don't fit, to try to make themselves look important or to try to prove a point that's really not true. And so while these people are so busy trying to get these puzzle pieces to fit, they miss the obvious, which is what? They don't fit. For example, Samson and Jesus did not act in the same way. Samson did many sinful and bad things. Jesus is without sin. Samson fought now great hordes of enemies. This is not who Jesus was. Jesus was very humble, and he knew that his purpose was for our salvation, not for his glory. And so when you're trying to get these puzzle pieces to fit, instead of getting a picture of Jesus, you might end up with a picture of Hercules. Okay, so remember everybody, like, share, subscribe. We'll see you next time.